Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO.
3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the 3DO company, and everything in between. And today we're hitting the courses for a wonderful round of golf. How you doing, Threk?
I think I tweaked my back on the back nine, like I was trying to get my ball out of the sand wedge, and I think I wedged something in my back, and it fucking hurts, dude. So, but regardless, I am here. I will soldier on. Like a true podcaster, I will persevere through all the issues I'm having. So, but other than that, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. I've been up since 3 a.m. I had to drop my sister off at the airport. She's going to go do some dance competition down south.
I thought she was doing a water bottle conference.
Maybe that's the cover story. Maybe it's all a conspiracy.
It's all a conspiracy. Like, why would she hide that she's going to a water bottle convention? We all know. You can't hide. You can't hide from me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I had to do that today, and then I'm the only machinist at work this week. So, like, legit, any crisis that happens, they need me to handle it, and I'm just like, this sucks.
You are the guy.
It's making the days go by really quick. It's just like, God damn it.
Days go by. It's a good song. So I guess before we get started, Bill, what else you been playing, man? What you been doing?
I haven't been playing a lot. I did pop in Conker's Bad Fur Day because it's the Game Club game for this month.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to it because I just don't have time to play games anymore, but I'm not going to lie. Conker has held up a lot better than I expected it would.
Which version are you playing, if you don't mind me asking?
Original N64 on an actual N64. So I'm
okay.
Going like a legit original.
Okay, because I've noticed, I guess just personally, whenever I play N64 games and they're not on an N64, I find them to be more rough experiences.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
They have a very specific jank to them, and I think that jank doesn't properly translate over to other control schemes. Because I was playing it on my Series X through good old Rare Replay, right? We love Rare Replay, folks. And I was just like, something about this doesn't feel right to me. Like, control, it was just kind of iffy. They tried their best to, I think, accommodate the controls because it wasn't one of the N64 games that they like remade for the 360, like say Banjo or Perfect Dark, which those versions I think are perfectly fine.
Yeah, those are optimized properly.
Yeah, like playing Banjo on like that version of Banjo is the way to go. But here it doesn't have the same care. So I guess unless you'd played it at the time, it probably wouldn't feel right to you. So I went ahead and switched to the original Xbox version, Live and Reloaded the remake, and it is much, much better. So
that remake is better in almost every way. It's just so censored that it's like, well, it's like kind of amazing.
It's kind of funny, almost.
In some of cases, like
I mean, their 64 version had censoring too, but it only censored. I think it censored fuck.
That was about it. They left all the shits in, which I think is just funny.
This one took all the shits out. I did some research. Nobody knows why. It could have just been like corporate bullshit from Microsoft.
Well, because originally it was supposed to be Conker Live and Uncut, and they were going to include all the cut material, but instead then they 180'd and like heavily censored everything.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about it being censor that I find kind of funny. Maybe it's just growing up in an era where like you used to say like watch Adult Swim, and there's the beeps. Kids don't have the beep anymore. The censor stuff.
Yeah,
There's something funny about it when it's used right, and I think even though this one is censored, they play into that. I think.
Well, it's like the classic SpongeBob episode, Sailor Mouth. Like, there's just so many reasons why that episode works. Like nowadays, even today.
Oh, but yeah, with the dolphin noises, but a lot of that's like, what are they even saying?
Well, did you know that the uncensored versions finally leaked of that?
I've heard that, but I haven't watched it yet.
I've only seen one clip, and it's a clip of Tom Kenny screaming "Blow me," which is really funny.
That's probably good, but I feel like that kind of takes away from the magic a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's not nearly as funny. The censor, like, I think one of the best like censoring jobs like ever is like fucking an Arthur episode of all things where they did a fucking Sopranos parody.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
because kids are totally gonna get that one, but they reference the Sopranos and they use it as a way to explain like censor bleeps, which is just really funny.
Yeah, but that's cool. And yeah, I'm about 6 hours in, I think. And what's nice about the Xbox version is that it has a what's the word? It has a timer, so you can actually like keep track of this stuff, which is pretty cool. Hold on a sec. Okay. And yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude. It is.
The voice, I'm not gonna lie, the voice acting in the original, it's not good, but it's actually like charming in such a way that I really like it.
I think they redid some of the voice acting for this.
Yeah, they got the cast back, like the original cast. Like I know Conker's voice definitely came back.
Oh yeah, it sounds like the same guy, but it sounds like he's aged a bit. And there's a good bit where at the very beginning, when you're doing like the gargoyle statue bit, it goes differently in the Xbox version than the than the N64 version, and for the Xbox version, it's changed. And he's like, "Wait a minute." He's like, "I thought this was." He's like, "Wait a minute, they changed this. I thought this was a direct port." He's like, "What?" Then they changed it, and then he cuts to the camera and says, "All right, game designer, no more changes, okay? Let's keep it how we remember it," which I thought was hilarious.
That's one of my favorite jokes in that entire game is when you whack the fucking gargoyle with the fucking frying pan. He just like looks at you, and he goes, "A frying pan," and then he's like, "You stupid little," and then falls off the bridge. Guys.
Yeah.
It's like it's just such a great joke.
And the Xbox version, you do that, and he's like, "Wait, you're supposed to fall down." He's like, "What do you mean?" And then you pull out the bat and smack him, and then that does it. So.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I will say, as a platformer, it's not that good. Like
it's not really about the platforming.
No. Like Banjo's the better platformer, but this game feels more like a third person kind of action adventure-y kind of a game anyways. That leans more into the like sicko fucking charm of the game. That reminds
much
me
more
a
about
lot
the
of
shock.
Yeah, and I'd said in the Discord, it kind of bridges sort of that late 90s edgy humor into like the 2000s Adult Swim self-aware humor. Like it's kind of somewhere in that middle ground. Like you can make a connection from like say the gross out like Jackass stuff to like Tim and Eric in this, I think.
Plus some of the things they parody Save It Private Ryan for an entire level, and it's like such a dated reference, but it somehow works.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten that far yet.
That's like the last chapter, I believe, or one of the final ones.
Yeah, basically, I'm at the point where you have to get the beehive, where I just got the beehive again. When you have to go into the like the honeycomb, and then like shoot the wasps, and then run out and give it to her. Like I just did that, so that's where I'm at, which is I think decently far. It's not a super long game, but I've just been like laughing at how ridiculous this game is because most of it I had never seen. Like I know the Great Mighty Pooh. I think most people know about him. But stuff like the sunflower with the big boobs, all the weird, like the sacrificing the baby raptor, like the pitchfork that tries to hang himself, like all this fucking like what the hell is going on? Shit.
The fucking the giant ass metal safe on the crate, and its quote is wonderful.
Oh, the get that fat bitch off of me or whatever. Yeah. This game is insane, and it controls better here, but like combat is awful, I think. Because like trying to do like the combo with the bat is very picky for some reason. The jumping could be better. The knockback is probably the worst I've ever seen in a game. It's fucking stupid. And it has a live system for some reason.
Yeah,
like
it was the time.
It only has it really for one gag.
Yeah,
which is when you lose them all, you go down to hell. I think you're hell, and then you meet the Grim Reaper, who calls himself Greg with 2 G's, and then you have a little conversation with him about the live system, and then you leave. Like that's it, and you didn't really need a live system for that, but
nah,
you know.
I did like Greg's little quote though about cats, and like he's like, "Goddamn squirrels, just like cats."
or according to Conker, he's not a squirrel; he's an elephant.
Yeah. It's a game that really needs to be experienced because it is a thing.
Yeah, like the act of playing it's not the worst thing. It's miles ahead of Sonic 06. Even though this game has its own frustrations, but I think the overall charm and just what the fuckness of this game is really what carries it, and it's good enough to carry it for the whole game. And I'll probably honestly get it done in like a day or two. Like it's as we said, it's not a super long game, so I'll probably knock it out, and hopefully I win. Because if I win, I have 2 options for August. I have 2 games I'm thinking of, so I'll probably like flip a coin or spin a wheel on it, and we'll go from there. So
nice.
That's really all I've been playing. Outside of that, everything else I kind of put on hold, like Doom Eternal and Beyond Good and Evil. I was messing around with some PS1 emulation earlier. That's really about it, outside of me fucking up my back. That's just kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh, somewhat topical to this episode. I did go on the Switch store because I was going to download the Peyoda remaster. And the first thing I see when I go on the Switch store is, how there's just like the Switch store is literally loaded with hentai games for some reason now.
Yeah.
The first thing I see is hentai golf, and I was just like, this is a sign. And it was on sale for $1, and I was kind of like, should I? So of course I did. I haven't touched it though.
Oh boy. Yeah, I saw the PO Definitive Edition. It went on sale on the Xbox. Power Slave Exhumed, the new version of that's on sale as well, and they're both sitting in my cart. So when payday happens, I will click download on both of those. So that'll be good. To play a good version of PO'd, at least I hope so.
Fingers crossed on that. But yeah, so speaking of golf, there was a lot of it on 3DO.
That there was. I think I have them all. I have 5 of them right here.
Yes, the 5 we played for this episode anyways. I think there might be one in Japan and there might be another one, but these are like the 5 that were common to find.
And not to get too ahead of ourselves, but these 3 are kind of the same game.
Yeah, I'm thinking we cover those last.
Okay.
Because they're all 3 of them are interesting for different reasons. But I figured the one I'd like to start with, because it was the one I liked the least, is probably World Cup Golf.
What the fuck was this one, man? World Cup Golf. It has a 12. Mine has a 12 on it. Maybe it was $12. I don't think I paid $12 for it. My copy is pretty deranged. Looks like it survived Conker's Bad for a day or something. Like it's kind of mangly, dude.
My copy looks like it was never played. So
fucking opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, like what the hell is this one, man? I mean, I wrote a little bit of notes for every game. So for this one, I just wrote smoothest animation, but the interface is so bad. Is this a PC port? It has a nice presentation and it kind of plays okay.
Yeah, that was my thing with this one. Like when I started it up, I really liked the presentation because I really liked the charming like British voice just chat or whatever English voice that was chatting at the start of the game. The music, what little music there was catchy.
It was the last one I played, and I found it very refreshing when I got to it because it does stick out the most compared to all the others.
Yeah. So a little backstory. This game was published by US Gold. They're pretty well known. They published a ton of sports games back in the day. They don't really exist nowadays. And the company that made this game is a studio known as Arc Developments. I looked into Arc a bit. They really mostly did ports. The game that they're most known for is another 3DO game that we'll probably cover at some point called Johnny Bazooka Tone.
Yeah. We got to do
which
that at
is
some point.
one of the other rare platformers on 3DO. But yeah, other than that, they mostly ported a bunch of stuff like McKids, Forgotten Worlds, Crackdown, Bart versus the Space Mutants, Bart versus the World, Terminator 2. They did a lot of porting. This was one of their rare original titles, and interestingly enough, this is one of the few games that was on both 3DO and CDI, so that's something that's interesting.
Oh, finally. We finally could bridge that gap.
It was also on PlayStation, Saturn, and DOS. And the original releases were, oh wow, so it came out on 3DO before it came out on CDI. That's weird.
Well, I imagine the CDI was harder to develop for.
I didn't even realize the CDI was still in production that late.
It doesn't surprise me because it was Philips, right?
Yes.
And Philips, I think, had some pretty deep pockets there. And probably the Nintendo connection gave their ego a bit of a boost to feel like, oh, we could, keep this going. And I think there was probably enough interest from that connection that there were people kind of still checking it out.
Yeah. Now, as for World Cup Golf itself, we mentioned earlier the presentation on this one is really nice. It uses kind of like a faux. It's not really 3D. It's kind of just like really clever 2D graphics.
It's kind of almost doing the Myst thing where they have like the really nice CG animations, but then they just take like stills of it.
Yeah.
To sort of give you that illusion.
So this one apparently revolves around the Hyatt Dorado Beach golf course. That's actually going to be a running theme with these games. They all kind of revolve around specific real life courses for the most part.
Yeah, Dorado Beach course is in Puerto Rico. So shout out to Chris, Novel Console.
Yep. So the thing with this one is like everything about this one seems really solid until you get to actually playing it, and then this is where it gets weird.
See, I was immediately thrown off by the menus because the menus are just like you're moving a cursor around the screen pretty much the whole time,
and you basically just click on shit to figure it out.
Yeah, so which very much makes me think: did this come out on PC first before consoles?
So it came out on 3DO and DOS at the same time.
Okay, I could see that. Because it's very PC. Because like all the pop-up windows and the thing that's annoying about the pop-up windows is that it gets in the way of
you're gonna
the nice
move
backgrounds and the nice smooth animation.
And sometimes, depending on where your ball lands, you have to move the freaking distance to ball little graph GUI that shows up there because it's in the way of your cursor.
Yeah, especially when they mention on the back of the box that they're using Silicon Graphics workstations, like to show how high tech it is, but yet the game doesn't really make itself a technical showcase to be like, look how pretty it is.
It's definitely not the best looking of the games here. Arguably, these games, it's a little debatable, I will say.
In some ways, it's the best looking, but just all these like weird menus and all this stuff, it feels very, if you ever like enter like a modern like shooter multiplayer thing and they have like all these fucking menus and all these boxes everywhere, and it's like it feels like it's way too cluttered to actually like look at. This game gives me similar vibes. Like it's way too cluttered.
Yeah, it's it's just one of those things. Like my first, the first hole I played, I was like 20 over par because I, just trying to figure out how to play this thing. Like took forever. Like I missed so many shots because I like was trying to figure out the timing on the swing meter, which is a
Yeah.
common element in golf games.
Yeah, and it's well, all the other golf games that we played, even to an extent, more modern golf games still use roughly the same idea. That it's like a little like it's like a C, and then you try to go all the way up to get power, and then you come back down to try to hit your accuracy just right, you know?
Yeah.
And this one does it completely differently. It has one window pop up for your power, and you're supposed to try to get it like you can adjust like the 100%, like by the percents. So say if your driver can go 270 yards, you can say like, oh, I only want like 80% of that, you know? And then you have to try to get it into the middle to sort of accommodate that. But it's so weird because it's like right in the middle, and then the bar will show up, and you have to like tap it at just the right time. And then when you do, then your accuracy comes up, and that has like a similar percentage that you have to try to get in the middle of. And it doesn't feel intuitive, and it doesn't feel like you're in the action or kind of like immersed in trying to do the golfing, you know? It just kind of completely throws you off.
Yeah.
Being able to really kind of fine tune your shots in any ways. And it's also completely inconsistent with how the putting works.
Yeah. That was the thing here was it felt like it would like try to like guide the ball at times for you. But then like when you got super close, it completely changed its entire like meter setup, and like you had to figure out a whole new setting for like close shots.
Yeah. And like the putting is completely different. Like the menu system that they have is very different. And I found myself having to do like actual math to figure it out. And then in like the driving, it was just, oh, you would tap the button, but here you had to hold it. And it would always like throw me off, you know?
How many times did you end up out of bounds?
Not that many. Like normally I'm not terrible at golfing games because they all kind of operate the same way. Doesn't matter if it's like the PGA Tour 2K games, like Mario Golf, fucking Neo Turf Masters, like they're all kind of the same thing. And if you have a rough idea of what you're trying to do, you can kind of figure it out. Like you always have to account for the wind, you know, because I think a lot of people when they play golf games, they don't accommodate for the wind. And then that is what fucks them up more than anything else. So I feel with any of these, as long as you adjust for the wind, you'll be okay. And then it comes down to just getting the fine tuning of how the game's physics work, you know, and the physics in this one were wonky, I think, and they didn't feel the most accurate.
No, they were very, this was the most inconsistent out of all of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that.
This was the one I found the most frustrating. Like after a while, like because not only was just trying to figure the menus out after like 2 holes, I was like, ugh, like because you keep, no matter how many times you do it, you're gonna always like forget the buttons because you'll press a button, it'll back you out, and then like you're like, God damn it, and you completely lose everything, and you gotta find it again.
It's not intuitive at all, you know. And and this was an era where they were still kind of figuring out how to make golf games, or like how like figuring out how to do them proper, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the older 2D like golf on NES, like the launch golf game, I think hasn't aged all that well. It's that one's real janky, though. NES Open Tournament Golf is pretty good. There's a couple Genesis golf games that I remember being fine. But really, it was like when Mario Golf hit the N64 is where it felt like modern golf was. That's where it kind of went off and running. Because then I think you had like the Tiger Woods series build off of that, and those games are fucking fantastic. Nobody talks about them anymore, but they hold up shockingly well.
You also got to remember the makers of Mario Golf, Camelot. They also created during their brief period as a Sony developer, made Hot Shots Golf over on PlayStation.
Yes, I've not played any of the Hot Shots Golfs.
So ironically, I think the one that Camelot made is the weakest one because after the first game, they transferred development over to a studio known as Clap Hands, and Clap Hands has made all of the games since then, and they honestly just got better as they went on. Like the one on Vita, World Invitational, is like a really solid golf game if you just need something to kill time with.
They haven't made a new Hot Shots Golf in a while, have they?
No, the last one was Everybody's Golf on PS4 because they've retired the Hot Shots Golf name at this point. They're just using the Japanese name now. But
I mean, sure, that's fine.
I mean,
Apparently,
both,
there's a VR one for.
Oh
PlayStation
yeah,
VR.
yep. I saw that. I don't have VR, so I can't play it. But
See, and that's a rare instance where it's like, oh, that's the kind of sport that I think would work really well in VR. You know, to completely immerse yourself in the experience, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know. And yeah, it's surprising that they don't try to make more golf. I mean, like golf games, I think are kind of having like a weird, or they had a weird renaissance like a couple years ago in the indie scene, and it feels like they kind of fell off a little bit again because we have like the PGA 2K series, which is going pretty well, and then EA just brought back the Masters series as well. So it feels like golf is kind of becoming part of the regular sports rotation again.
there's so many golf games on Switch too. Like
Oh yeah,
a lot of them are shit, but
well, I think that's because Golf Story was such a big hit on there.
that is a fun game.
It's a fantastic game. I think it was the first game I played on my Switch, and it was so good that that's probably why a lot of people started making golf games specifically for the Switch, if nothing else.
I mean, golf with your friends is really fun too, even though it's fucking chaos. But
oh yeah, that game is wacky. I love the course design in it, and it just feels like a fucking batshit putt golf game, which is great.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we're gonna do it a little differently because we're covering so many games. We're gonna, rather than save all of our must play, okay, stay aways for the end of the episode, we're gonna just do them after we cover each game and just kind of get them out of the way. So for this one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say stay away. It's not really worth playing these days.
I would agree as well. I think this is probably the week. It's weird that it's for me the most interesting of all the golf games on 3DO that we played, but it ends up being the one that is least worth your time.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
It's not bad. It's just not
misguided.
Well, it's not well made for this system, I think is the way to put it.
No. I mean, it might be available on like My Abandonware. So it might be worth checking like the PC version to see if it feels better. But even playing a golf game with like a keyboard and mouse feels off to me. But
yeah,
that could just be me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I think the Wii was like legitimately the perfect console for golf games.
Yeah, and then there wasn't a Mario Golf for it.
Yeah, which is still fucking bizarre to me.
But Camelot did make a golf game for it. It was that Capcom one.
Yeah, which is weird. But hey, they ported a Mario Golf like from the GameCube over. That's something, I guess.
No, they didn't. It was the tennis game that they ported.
You're right. Fucking Nintendo. Anyways,
that's the thing. When there's certain things, it's like, oh, that's a slam dunk. They'll do that, and then they don't do it.
No, they were probably like, Wii Sports Golf is fine.
I mean, I fucking love Wii Sports Golf.
Yeah, I know it's great,
but come on. I mean, that they can't use that excuse when it's like, well, you ported a Mario tennis game, you made another Mario baseball, you made another Mario Strikers. Like, come on, you stupids.
Speaking of like the games that were really good on the Wii for golf, the EA's PGA Tour was really good. And speaking of EA's PGA Tour,
not E6.
I would, before we start on this one, I'd like to say we got another unique 3DO case style. It's a box that opens. I think it's the only 3DO game that does this.
Very weird. And yeah, for some reason, this is the front cover of my jewel case. I don't know if it's yours or not. It says "Welcome to the Future."
No, mine was just an empty jewel case.
Okay, that says "Welcome to the Future," and I have snapshots of like hockey, what looks like a person in like Planet of the Apes makeup, and then like a battle station. I don't know. It's very 90s, but in a scary way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
you compete with the PGA Tours. I think this is the one that has it has 3 golf courses on it.
Hmm.
So in a way, I think it has the record.
I think it is the biggest game. Maybe we'll get to that at the end. It is, if I'm gonna say anything about this one, it's the safest one out of all of these.
Yeah, I think that's a safe thing to say.
It is definitely the easiest one to pick up and play.
Well, oh, there it is. I will say the notes I wrote for PGA Tour 96. My favorite of the bunch. Menus are jank and lacking in options, but the gameplay is so much better in my opinion. Like, I think this one finds the right balance between like being pick up and play, but requiring you to think about it a little bit, you know? Like it is the most accessible one on here. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it the most.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely the easiest one. Graphically, it's probably the least interesting, which isn't really a bad thing, but
and it even has like in the menus, you can change how much like detail you want, like low, medium, and high. And I messed with it. I didn't notice a fucking difference.
No,
I don't know if you did.
None. Also, musically, this is okay. So this game and the previous one have barely any music, and this one is the music that's there is completely forgettable.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed one thing with the level detail. It changed the loading times.
Yeah, because this game's kind of long, has kind of jank load times.
Well, if you bump it to low, the load times aren't as bad.
No, I mean even at high, the load times on this one aren't nearly as bad as the games we'll be getting to.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll get to that later because there is reasoning for that.
Okay.
But yeah, this one was. It's kind of, there's not a whole lot to say about it other than it's just a really solid golf game. Like, it's got all the traditional golf things you know, like lining up the shot. You got your stroke meter. I love the menus in golf because it's like stroke play and shit.
Yeah, and it has. I like the announcer, though he only shows up on the green, where he's like, "This birdie putt should be straight in." You know, very ASMR-y, which I really liked.
Yeah, he was much more ASMR-y than the kind of charming British man in the previous game who was all like, hole number 2.
Yeah. All these games I think are trying to have like a chilled out atmosphere, but I think this is the one that really does it best, you know? And I like that you can also, before you go out, you can choose which clubs you want, you know, which adds a little level of strategy so you don't, you know, have every club for every specific situation, which is fun. And you could also like challenge yourself and be like, you know what, no putter, fuck that, you know, like you can mess with it if you want, but also you could have it kind of, you know, plain Jane simple. And that's what I like about it is that I think World Cup and maybe to an extent the other ones are trying too hard to be sim like, whereas this one, I wouldn't call it arcade. Maybe I don't even know if maybe a simcade where it's like it has just like it's sim enough to where I think most people would be like, oh, a golf game, but it's very easy to play, which would keep people around. And I think you have to sort of balance that with golf because if it's too far into the sim direction, you're just going to turn people off, you know? So like you have to bring it back just enough to where people can really get into it. Because say you go too far in the arcade direction, you could get, say, like, you know, I mean, the Mario Golf games, I wouldn't say are maybe SimCady or probably the best arcade one would be Neo Turf Masters, which, I mean, is the best golf game ever made. But unfortunately, I think it would turn a lot of people off who want a more realistic golf experience. But they are wrong for not being able to appreciate that game in all of its fucking glory.
Yeah. With PGA Tour 96, it's definitely the most forgiving too in a lot of ways because like the other games in particular, you really need to like calculate your distance at times. This one kind of generally is like you can just max it out and you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, and what's nice with like putting is that it kind of aligns you to where you need to go on the green anyways, so you don't have to adjust that much unless the announcer says, oh, it's going to veer a little bit to the right. Then it's like, oh, let me adjust it just a bit. But But for say your drive or any other fairway shots, you can just sort of aim for the hole and then just fucking knock that shit and you'll probably get there.
Mm.
Which is nice because that's the experience I want as a golf game, where it's like I don't want to think about it too much.
Yeah, this was like the most like mindless to me because I kind of just like put it on and just like before I knew it, I'd already done like 7 holes and I was like, oh,
I did a full 18 without even realizing it.
Yeah, this one was the only one I did a full actual finished.
Yeah,
finished
it, and I ended up 1 stroke under par, so I did all right.
Not bad. Yeah, so kind of like not as impressive as Madden because I'm pretty sure this is technically a port as well.
Yeah, it does have the FMV characters, but yeah, like compared to say World Cup golf, it's aesthetically the least appealing.
Yeah,
you know, it that's an issue I've noticed with EA, especially like the EA Sports games in this era. Like, they're just not really the nicest things to look at, but they're playing really solid. You know,
like Madden probably is the one that tried the hardest, but that also was an original 3DO made game.
Yeah, and but even say the later Maddens, if you compare them to say all the other NFL games that are going on around it, it feels like the most sterile of the bunch.
Yeah,
but at that time they were playing really solid, and they kind of set the foundation for everybody else to kind of fuck with. So it made them like easy picks to kind of play, really.
Yeah, this one kind of reminds me a lot of FIFA. Like, it's perfectly solid in every way. It's just not that interesting.
It's not that interesting, but I would play this over FIFA any day.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, as much as I dislike golf because I work at a golf company and it drives me insane, I'd rather play a golf game than a soccer game any day.
Well, golf is the perfect sport to video game eyes.
Yeah. Well, that and racing games, but
racing games are their own breed. I don't put them with sports games. Like with golf, it's the idea of golf is so simple, you know, in a way it's like a turn-based game. And when you video gameize it, you take away all the bullshit of like going to find the hole and all the find your ball, all that stuff in the middle, the fucking weather and dealing with weirdos and fucking like awful pants who are trying to be elitist towards you. You don't worry about any of that. You know, you can just kind of play it in the comfort of your own home. And that's really, and with golf, as we've seen with all these like weird indie games, like also like What the Golf, it's very malleable. Like you can do so many weird things with golf just as a concept in a video game form. And I think that's what makes it enjoyable for a lot of us. Like, because so many people shit on golf in general as a sport, which I think is unfair. And, you know, I've watched golf on TV. It's fine. But I see why people view it as boring because it's very quiet and kind of chill. But I think that kind of experience lends itself more to video games. So that's why I say people will shit on golf, but, you know, they'll play a Mario Golf here and there because it's fun.
I mean, I always joke saying like I dislike golf, but I love Hot Shots golf. So
yeah. So I mean, hell, like Neo Turf Masters is like a comfort game for me. So,
yeah. And even then, my reasoning for disliking golf has nothing to do with the sport itself. So,
yeah, it's your work environment, which I understand.
Yeah. So, must play, okay, stay away. I don't want to say must play because I feel like if there's better PGA Tour games, so I'm probably going to say okay on this one.
I'm going to say must play in terms of, if you want to play a golf game for the 3DO, this is the one.
Okay.
For me, that's why I'll give it a must play. There are better golf games, absolutely. But if you want, say, a snapshot of what like Simcade golf games are trying to be at the time, like this isn't a bad game at all. So I enjoyed playing it. I'll probably play it a little bit more. Like I can see myself popping this in and playing it later.
Yeah. So the next 3 are interesting because mechanically they are basically identical.
I mean, the covers are the fucking same, dude. We have Pebble Beach Golf Links, Wicked 18, and Waialae. Am I saying that right?
It's Hawaiian, and they say it in the game, and I forgot already how they pronounce
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah,
I want to put
the fucking the True Golf trilogy, because they're all
yes,
True Golf classics.
created by T&E Soft.
Tits and Einhander.
Hell yeah. So I want to cover Wicked 18 separately, just because there is a bit more to say about this one, to a degree.
I didn't say much. The most I had to say was Pebble. We'll start with Pebble Beach,
Okay.
because that's kind of, I think that's the de facto one people think of. In my opinion,
the most well-known 3DO golf game, because I swear to God, this game is in every like secondhand video game store. I have like 3 copies of this game I've discovered somehow. Because fun fact, this one is sealed. Not the long box, but the actual like jewel case inside is still sealed.
Yeah, that might be worth something one day. That might be worth $50.
Ironically, Wicked 18 is actually the most valuable of the golf games at the moment.
I could see why. But what I put for Pebble Beach was it just has one golf course, Pebble Beach.
Mhm.
The power meter can be frustrating. Putting is very weird. The CPU tends to kick your ass, and the wind can really fuck you up at times. If this was the only golf game I had, I could make it work. It's not bad, but at times it can be very frustrating.
Yeah. So this one is by far the most sim out of all of
Yes, it is the most sim.
the true golf games, I should say, are by far the most sim heavy. Like these games, you get a lot of options. Thankfully, it makes
Arguably too many.
yeah. Thankfully, it makes more sense than True Golf, or World Cup Golf. Just
Yeah.
apparently, it was designed better.
Yeah, I would say that.
This game also loves its full motion video.
I mean, it's been playing behind me the entire time.
Like
Did this one come out on Saturn as well?
that is a good question. So these games came out on these have been on a lot of things. I know SNES had ports, Genesis.
Oh yeah, I played the Genesis version of this. Yeah, there was a Saturn version, because the Saturn version has extra FMV from golfer Craig Stadler.
Hmm.
Now, he might be, I don't think he's on this version of it. I know he's on the Saturn version, because there's I forget the name of the YouTube channel, but there's a guy who's like reviewing every Saturn game. Now he's turned every video into like a 2-hour documentary. That kind of really goes off the fucking rails, but he did one on Pebble Beach and just put all the focus on that, like Craig Stadler was there. So that's probably what I was thinking of.
It's also interestingly the only one that made it to Saturn, and I think maybe was it also on PlayStation or just Saturn?
According to this, it just says 3DO and Saturn, but I feel like that can't be right.
So
Because it was on Genesis, I know it was there.
Pebble
I've played
Beach,
it on there.
weirdly enough, doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but the other two do. I don't know. These ones, though, apparently only 3DO is like the newest console they came out on, which is weird.
Well, because apparently there's two fucking Wikipedias for it, because there's Pebble Beach Golf Links, which is the 3DO Saturn one, and then there's True Golf Classics Pebble Beach Golf Links, which is the one that was on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis.
Huh.
Though I'm pretty sure it's the same game, but my guess is those are like the downgraded versions.
Probably. I will say one thing I really like, even though they cause the game's load times to be fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
I love the little animated like full motion video golfer and caddy whenever you line up a shot.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. They'll do like the overhead aerials of all the holes, like real like footage of it, which is really cool. But a lot of the game feels like it's just advertising the golf course to you.
Oh yeah, like
You know?
especially Pebble Beach wasn't as blatant. Walale Country Club definitely was though. Like holy shit.
Yeah, that one was just like a billboard you play.
Yeah, You would mention the so in terms of 3D, I think actually these ones use the 3DO to its potential much better because like the 3D is at least somewhat present in these games.
Well, and it looks like actual 3D models that they're using for the courses and everything, and you still have the 2D audiences. There's like sound effects going on, and
Music, there's actually a decent amount of music in these games.
yeah, there's a lot going on in here, and it's very ambitious, and as I would say, too ambitious
Yeah,
from
that
technology and entertainment software.
the stroke like meter, like putting meter, the thing in like every golf game in this game. Oh boy, is it does it take some practice.
It's borderline dog shit.
Once I figured it out, I had no problem with it. But my God, figuring it out took forever.
Yeah, the skill floor is ridiculously high in this game, and it feels like it's too high.
Yeah,
You
this
know?
one does not hold your hand at all. Like you have to actually like do the math and like figure this shit out.
Yeah, which some people would appreciate, and I totally understand that. But I think for my tastes, it really annoyed me, especially when the power meter, when you try to max it out, if you mess the timing up, it'll just give you a little bit at the bottom. It does like say the Tecmo Bowl thing where you try to do the kickoff and you miss the timing, so it's like an onside kick. That pisses me off every time. Like I rage quit a couple times because I thought that was bullshit.
Yeah, like when you just miss the damn ball and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I should expect that from the people who made Hide Lied.
Did they really make holy
They-
fuck?
They're the same people who made Hide Lied.
That makes so much fucking sense. Did they also make did they also make virtual highlight?
According to this, no.
So they didn't make the worst one.
No, but they did make, weirdly enough, Golf on Virtual Boy, as well as Red Alarm and 3D Tetris and a game called Q-On Pa for the PlayStation.
A lot of winners.
Well, they also did a game on the 3DO that we will be covering later called Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Slayer. Or they published it in Japan. So that's
yeah.
like, yeah, we'll be covering that in the future.
Yeah. Actually, they have arguably the biggest list of games out of all these. Well, besides EA, but EA is EA.
Yeah, though they've been defunct for a long time.
Oh yeah.
D4 Enterprise bought up all their stuff. So D4 owns Pebble Beach. Bring it back.
I don't think
Bring
they
back Craig Stadler.
I don't think they own that. I think Pebble Beach.
Get
owns Pebble
Craig
Beach.
Stadler on the phone and have him re-record all the shit so that I can play Pebble Beach on my Xbox Series X. Okay, that's what we want.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, we could do okay, must play, stay away, but literally, Walele is literally the same game.
I will say, Walele and Wicked 18 adds one thing that I think is really nice, and that is the easy shot.
True.
So basically, with the
Yeah.
easy shot, you don't have to worry about your accuracy anymore. And the power meter, I think, is a little bit slower as well. So you can just hit the power, and then it'll just do the accuracy for you, which honestly makes these games a little bit more playable for my taste. So Walele helps with that. Actually, it was my favorite of the three because I thought it fixed a lot of the little issues that I think the other two had, and just felt like the smoothest gameplay experience of the three, despite it being a walking billboard. You know,
I mean,
which is weird. They did that because it's like Hawaii. Hawaii's beautiful, of course. So they could have put more emphasis on it from like a gameplay perspective, but it is what it is.
This game had by far my favorite animation in the entire all of these, though, with the your golfer, because every game has a different golfer and caddy, but it's always the same one. The golfer, when he wants his putter, he literally just goes and just does this every single time, and I'm just like, it made me laugh every single time because it's so stiff but hilarious.
Mortal Kombat was very influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last one is Wicked 18, and
which I described as A Pebble Beach with wacky courses. You got Roger Dean floating islands and shit.
So visually, this was my favorite of all the games, just
I
because
can see that.
it is the most interesting.
Well, apparently in Japan it was called Devil's Course.
Yeah, because in the game they refer to it as the Devil's Course. I'm assuming it was probably some sort of censoring bullshit why they changed it for over here.
And with some of the course designs, calling them the Devil's Course makes a lot of sense. Because some of them are just fucking atrocious.
Oh, yeah. This one by far had the most, like, they were like, we're not basing it off a real golf course, so just fucking do whatever. And holy fuck.
Like having that, basically like the Banjo Spiral Mountain as a golf course was just...
Oh.
I fucking hated it, man.
This was the last one I played, and I think my brain was just, like, numb to it by this point, but I did have fun playing this one. I didn't get that far. I played like maybe 4 holes, and I was like, I'm good. I've got enough to talk about it.
See, I think it was a missed opportunity because they could have done more to say, give the player more options for like kind of wackier shots. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to have these like really weird, interesting courses, why not give the player more ability to say, you know, mess with their shots? Like say have like a devil driver that goes like 500 yards or something, or like a putter that just is crazy accurate, or, you know, like things that would benefit the player more, but it would fit with the more weird aesthetic of the game, because the golfers are all the fucking same.
Yeah, that was
playing
my
the
thing.
Game is the exact. They all have the same fucking menu, just slightly different colors. You know, they all feel like, I would say 80% copy and paste. You know, but that 20% difference is what makes all of them kind of have their own unique flavor. But unfortunately, it's not unique enough unless you're us looking for all these little differences.
Yeah, because Wicked is like, to me, it is like they almost were there, but they just didn't they just missed like the potential of making this the best one by like a hair, because
they didn't want to commit to the bit.
Exactly. Like, because like this one starts up, because all of the Willele and Pebble Beach start up with full motion video of the said real life courses, which is a nice touch, and I like the music and like the feel of them. Like they have a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Wicked 18 is totally 90s. Like it's got the 90s edgelord, like totally extreme like narrator.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's of the time full motion video CGI, which I liked because I have a soft spot for that. And the music is rocking. Like it's such a drastic shift compared to the other two. But then like the mechanics are identical, and it's like you got these 2 random golfers that are just in this like devil course for no reason.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well as it should, you know, which is a shame. Like we've seen recently more kind of weird golf games doing weird shit. So in a way, this feels like slightly ahead of the time, but I just think T&E didn't want to completely rework the game design to make this like a truly unique experience. I think they were just like, oh, we have an engine that works. So we had done like 2 golf games that were based on actual golf courses. So let's go crazy and just do a fun one. You know, it's like, you know, when white people are doing a group picture, now do a silly one. This is the silly one. And in a way, it makes it stand out. But, you know, comparing them to all the 3 of them, it's like not my favorite of the 3. I don't know. It's not my least favorite. I can say that. But it's just, I don't know if I'll ever play this one again. Like the one I'll actually go back to and play of the 3 would probably be Wailea.
Yeah, that one definitely I got the most. I like the vibe of the most, which is hilarious because it's literally a billboard, but
yeah,
an advertisement, but yeah. So I played Wicked 18 last, so I just think like that was like by that point my brain was just like, it's fine. Like I can deal without any bullshit at this point.
It's fine.
Yeah. So ranking these is going to be hard because I think all 3 of them I just say are okay for the okay must play stay away.
Yeah, I would give all 3 in. Here, I'll do an A, okay. That's what they all are. Of the three, as I said, I would pick YLA the most. But I guess if I were to do a ranking of best to worst, it would probably go PGA, YLA, Wicked 18, Pebble Beach, and World Cup.
Yeah. Like,
if this Pebble Beach had Craig Stadler, I would flip it. Seriously, seriously, listeners, if you've not seen the version of Pebble Beach with like Craig Stadler, like egging you on and like helping you out, it definitely enhances the experience. You know, because he's not really an actor, but it gives the game a little extra character that it needs. You know, and it's a shame he's not here, unless he is, and I just didn't realize it. Like, I could go through the options and check, but I don't think he's here at all.
I did notice that it felt like it was kind of random at times, but there was sometimes when you got on the green in these games, the caddy would like suddenly just appear in the corner, like their face full motion would be like, "Oh, this is gonna be a good shot." And it's just like, oh, that's random.
Yeah, and you have to earn all those like really good shots, you know, which does make you feel good when you hit it. But as I had said before, the wind really fucked with me, like in what felt like inconsistent ways, where like I was accounting for it, but then like my ball would just blow, and I'm like, what was there, a fucking gust of wind? You know, like that stuff seemed kind of weird to me, and I didn't know really how to account for it. But
like to me, like the most like what the fuck moment I had was I was like legit like 2 inches away from the hole, and the ball was like literally like just about on the lip of the fucking hole, and I did like the most baby shot ever, just because I'm like, all right, this is gonna be easy. I touched the ball and it legit just moved like an inch and didn't go in. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and how it judges if balls actually go in the hole or not for putting was so weird, because I would have some that would curve really hard to the left and would maybe graze the corner and be like, oh, you got it. I'm like, what? Fucking what? How? It was very weird. It's very weird.
Oh, I have to mention it just because this is a bit that we've forgotten about, but it's relevant here. All three of the True Golf games have memory managers.
That is true. All of them do.
Great.
In fact, PGA does as well.
See,
at least
PGA
gives you the option to go in, because these games, for some fucking reason, take up so much room. I don't know why they take up so much room.
It's got to be all the fucking data and stats and shit.
I mean, I guess, but it feels like the stats it's not that big. It's just stats, dude.
There's got to be some weird background shit, because the second I was done, I wiped all of that shit off my 3DO's hard drive.
Yeah,
I was like, nope, done with that.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. I don't know. Awful.
That did make my day though, because I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, memory manager. Finally.
Maybe that's why these were so cheap, because people were buying them so they could actually manage the memory of their 3DOs.
I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than Alone in the Dark, so.
Exactly.
But I won't lie, I had fun with all of these to a degree. I didn't really like World Cup golf, but I enjoyed my time playing golf games, is what I'll say.
I always enjoy my time with golf games. Always. This is no Neo Turf Masters. It's no PGA Tour 2K21, which I still play once in a while on my Xbox. But it's not even Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color. But you know, these games they do their thing. You know, and they work for, I think, what they're trying to be overall. And you know, don't be surprised if I end up playing this guy a little bit more. And who knows? Maybe I'll do a deep dive into the PGA Tour series and you know, go into all that. So, which could be interesting.
I think the only sport we have to cover now is, oh no, there's two. So we're starting to get the trifecta on sports games on 3DO. I don't know if there's a hockey game, and I'm not sure if there's.
I don't think there is. Well, we'll have to check. Like hockey, I don't think so. Baseball, I'd be surprised if there wasn't a baseball game on here.
Yeah, because that's like the last thing we really need if we're going to cover the sporting trifecta.
Yeah.
I will say though,
Okay. There's let's see. There's one. I'm looking at the baseball games. There's one called, I think it's Japan only, called Pro Yaku Virtual Stadium Professional Baseball. It's an EA one, but it only came out in Japan for some reason.
might have to import.
Yeah. And then there's, in the non-game software collection, there's the ESPN Baseball Interactive Hitting.
Woo!
Well, we might end when we do that baseball game. We might as well just cover that.
Mention it anyways.
Sure, why not? Yeah. And then, but as far as hockey, no. There were some ESPN golf edutainment stuff. Your Score with Tom Kite, shot making and mental messages, which unfortunately I did not do my homework on those before this. But if you guys want to know, I'll watch them.
All right. And I think we agreed last episode, or off camera anyways, that our next game we want to cover is we're going to be joining the People's Party pretty soon, and we're going to finish the trilogy of party games on 3DO.
And I got it.
Nice. I'm looking forward to this one. I've heard really good things.
Yeah, it was like $20. Showed up in a couple days. Easy peasy. When eBay works, it works very well.
I think because we're at episode 46, so that will be 47. And then I think we wanted to do Starblade, or is it Starblade?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, we could do Starblade.
Yeah, because I've heard great things about that one. And then we need just one more game, and then we'll be at 50.
I mean, there's still the game I want to do, but it involves a captain.
Right. I have to.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I can emulate it.
All right.
That's an expensive one.
It is.
All right. But yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about the People's Party. Good old Zadnost.
Communism.
What a weird game. Good old Studio 3DO. But yeah, once again, guys, thanks for joining us on the 3DO Experience. You can find the 3DO Experience on all your major podcasting platforms. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network, along with a whole bunch of other shows. Let's see if I can remember them all this time. We got, obviously, Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, The Elder Trolls, A Novel Console, Friday Night Gamecast, Fine Time, Gaming Together, and then those GNC shows. I think that's everybody. Oh, and Bar Silence. Can't forget Jameson.
Oh yeah, he makes good shit.
He does. He makes really good stuff. And Tommy's road trip show.
Tommy, you need a guest on there. Just have somebody show up in your car.
Pick up a hitchhiker.
Pick up a hitchhiker and ask him about game journalism.
Yeah, I believe that's everybody. But yeah, so once again though, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?